So, The Mandalorian, Chapter 10, The Passenger. Well, right off the bat, I guess I have to say I was wrong about a couple things from the first episode. Number one, I was wrong about Boba being the one to lead the Mando to the rest of the Mandalorians. And two, I guess we're back to like 37-minute, 41-minute runtimes or whatever it was. I think total runtime was 41 minutes, but 4 minutes of that was end credits. So I get it. Like, I have to remind myself we are in the world of serial like space operas from back in the day, and they're doing it in a really effective way. It's just I'm greedy and I want more. I want as much as possible. Oh well, what we did get in this episode was a lot for the runtime, and I thought it was another really well done episode all around. Just going off the top, I love the cold open. Especially that first opening shot, the wide one of the Mando on the speeder bike. I thought that was really well done. It looked cool. And then it leads into the whole ambush thing, which was another really fun. What's becoming a typical scene in The Mandalorian, where people think they're gonna get the drop on them, and even if they do, he ends up wrecking them because he's the Mandalorian. And to say I laughed when I don't think he's a Jawa guy, but when the little bounty hunter alien trains him for the jetpack, and then the Mando sends him jetpack off flying. To say I laughed a little bit would be an understatement. And it's funny, in that moment, for a second, I thought the guy was gonna ask for the Boba Fett's armor, which would have been, like a big dilemma for the Mando probably, but not really. I'm sure he would have picked Baby Yoda over the Boba Fett's armor, and I guess doing that would have kind of negated everything he had done in the first episode, which is probably why they didn't do that. Yeah, and then from there, we go back title sequence, Mandalorian main theme, which I love. Oh, I love that theme. It's stuck in my head all the time. And then we're back on Tatooine, back at the cantina, and I always laugh when we see that the cantina is now run by droids. It warms my cockles. As opposed to my theory of Boba leading the Mandalorian to the rest of his kind, we get this guy, Dr. Mandible, don't think that's his real name, giving Mando his next job, which sends us on our next adventure, which I know there's a name for these frog type aliens. I can't remember what it is, so I'll just call her Frog Lady for the rest of the episode. It's kind of funny. One of the synchronicities I noticed right away between the Mando and the Frog Lady character is they're both kind of on the same adventure. Mandalorian, obviously, he's looking for the last of his kind, the last of the Mandalorians. They've almost been wiped out, and on a smaller scale, that's what this character is doing. She's trying to save the last of her own family line. So I thought there was a bit of a connection there, and as you know, in Star Wars, everything has to rhyme. And so we're set off on the next part of the Mandalorian's adventure, which includes escorting this woman to the Trask system, or the Moon Trask. There's like the moon is called Trask, I think, in a system whose name I forget. And then things go a little awry. So this is definitely one of those standalone episodes. I was really hoping they were going to advance the story more, but again, I have to remind myself to have patience. We knew this was the way this season was probably going to go down, based on how the first season went down, where there was a lot of standalone stories interspersed with interconnecting information that ultimately led us to its climax. So I assume that's what's going to keep happening here. And this is one of those standalone episodes. And on its own, it's a really good episode. I really liked the tension between the Mandalorian and the X-Wing pilots when they intercept him on his journey. And I love when the X-Wing foils come apart, or there's a term for what they do there, and I forget what it is. When the X-Wing foils open, and stuff's about to happen. I love that. It's just a little subtle cue because it harkens back to like the original trilogy, when every time the X-Wings flew into battle, the foils opened. And we get a really cool chase scene, and from this point on, the whole episode is pretty action packed. It does slow down a little bit after the crash landing, but it picks right back up with when the spider aliens come to life and attack the Mandalorian and the Frog Lady, and that whole pursuit scene. It was really tense for a scene that you kind of feel like you've seen it before. Obviously, reminded me of the Chamber of Secrets when Harry and Ron go to meet Aragog and they try to eat them. And that scene in that movie, compared to the books, not as intense. This scene, super intense. You kind of, there's that, like the big spider, like you feel the weight behind him. You actually are worried. His presence makes you worried for the characters. For one, I thought the Frog Lady might die there, and then it would be up to the Mandalorian to get the eggs to the husband. I'm glad that didn't happen. That would have been a little sad, especially considering everything else she went through in this episode, which I will get to in a second. Yeah, and then when the spiders are flooding the ship, and you're wondering, is this going to be a Baby Yoda Force moment? Or in the back of my head the whole time, I was like, I wonder if the X-Wing pilots are going to show up, and sure enough, that's what happened. They have the X-Wing pilots show up. They blast away the big alien, or the big spider. And I love that last little exchange between the X-Wing pilots and the Mando. It's so just pulled from the Western genre, but it's really cool. I just love the idea of X-Wing pilots in this universe at this time being these like grizzled like U.S. Marshals who have to make that call where like technically this guy's a criminal, but he's really a good guy, so we'll let him go this one time. And it kind of just, in that moment, it kind of evoked all these like thoughts about the Star Wars universe where, yeah, I guess like in this point in time in the Star Wars galaxy, it makes sense for the X-Wing pilots to be behaving this way. And also I thought, like, how cool of a showdown is that between the Mandalorian and the X-Wing pilots where like violence is averted, because you're probably talking about two factions with like the biggest reputation for their fighting prowess. Because like, so what's just happened like leading up to this point in Star Wars history, squadrons of X-Wing pilots have blown up 2 Death Stars. They've eradicated the Empire, and I know Luke and company had a lot to do with that on like a micro scale, but like on the macro level, a lot of the galaxy probably doesn't know that. They just know that these rebel X-Wing squadrons destroyed 2 Death Stars, so they probably have a reputation around the galaxy as being the best pilots in the galaxy. I would have to assume, based on that alone. So it's really cool to see these two forces clash in this way and then not resort to violence. I thought that was cool. There's kind of like a bit of a mutual respect going on there, and it gave more gray area to the Star Wars universe, because in the movies there's really not a whole lot of gray area. Empire bad, Rebels good. Here we see, and even the one X-Wing pilot says it, these are trying times, and there's a lot more of morality. There's a lot more of a gray area in terms of morality. And overall, that's just one of my favorite things about The Mandalorian right now, is that it's breathing a lot of new life into Star Wars and a lot of subtle nuances. And this episode, again, did a good job of that, even though when you boil it down, it's a simple plot. It's a simple premise. It's something we've seen a lot in different types of media, but they do it. They knock it out of the park again. But with that said, there's something else sinister lurking underneath it all, and that, ladies and gentlemen, I hate to say it, I even complained about the first episode not having enough Baby Yoda, but it's possible we saw too much of Baby Yoda in this episode. And I have to posit to you, the good viewers at home, that Baby Yoda is actually a monster. Just look at the evidence. When he goes down into the hold and he eats that first frog lady egg, that look back, that says it all. He knows what he's doing is wrong, but he does it anyway. He's looking at those eggs the same way he looked at that crate dragon meat. And then he just keeps going after those eggs. He's remorseless. He knows it's wrong and it's remorseless. The Mando told him not to, but he keeps doing it. In the cave, after he so concerned that the frog lady's gone, and I'm sure he's only concerned because to him, that's his meal ticket escaping. We see it again. All he wants is those eggs. He's insatiable. And when he can't get her eggs, he goes and eats a spider egg, and possibly is the whole reason for the chase that ensues. And then at the end, after everything they've been through, after everything this poor frog lady has been through, she's trying to save her children. She must know that Baby Yoda's been eating the egg. She's not dumb. She can count. And she still saves Baby Yoda. That is a good person. And I'm not sure Baby Yoda's a good person after this episode. I know it's been played for laughs before in the first season. He eats the frog and the kids are all grossed out. But that frog wasn't sentient. These frogs are sentient. It's horrible. It's horrible implications when you think about it. Did regular Yoda just eat sentient beings and their eggs all the time too? Who knows? We'll never know now. He's dead. But Baby Yoda's alive. He's the last ambassador for whatever their species is. And this is what we're seeing of him. And I gotta say, it's troubling. It's very troubling. But, he's a child, so I guess we have to forgive him. Frog Lady forgave him, or at least still saves him, even after he's eaten all of her children, or at least half, probably. And I gotta hand it to her, because I don't know if I would make the same call in that situation. When those spiders are on top of him, I'm just thinking, you know what, kid, you reap what you sow. Maybe you're gonna get eaten now. But she doesn't, because again, she's a good person. So, with that, I guess, I'll leave it to you, for you to decide. You've seen the evidence. You've seen what kind of person Baby Yoda is turning out to be. Do you think he's redeemable? Kylo Ren was redeemed. Is Yoda beyond redemption? Vader was redeemed. Is Baby Yoda beyond redemption? Are any of us really beyond redemption? It's hard to say. I've never eaten a frog lady's eggs, but Baby Yoda has, with no remorse. This isn't like, he's just some animal going on instinct. He knows it's wrong. It's clear, but he does it anyway. I don't know what to think about Baby Yoda now. And I just realized that Pepsi can's been in frame this whole time. It's too late now. It's staying in.